Across today's headlines, the same events are framed either as institutional failures, partisan rebukes, or routine governance, depending entirely on who is telling the story. This is Parallax Newsroom. The preferred candidate, backed by national Democratic leaders, lost a primary in a key Arizona battleground district. MSNBC framed this as a routine daily occurrence, noting a candidate falls short in a campaign roundup. Axios called it a blunder, reporting a scoop that Dems want changes at the DCCC. NBC News framed it as an active rejection by voters, noting Arizona Democrats rejected party leader's pick. The neutral read is that MSNBC downplayed the institutional friction, Axios emphasized internal party chaos, and NBC News highlighted voter autonomy, leaving the viewer to decide if this is a broken strategy or a healthy democracy. Justice Elena Kagan publicly stated that the Supreme Court does not act as a rubber stamp for President Trump. NBC News framed her comments through an ideological lens, identifying her as a liberal justice pushing back. The Hill kept the framing strictly institutional, reporting Kagan says the court is not a rubber stamp. The Washington Times mirrored the liberal justice framing, implicitly questioning the neutrality of her statement. The neutral read is that the center outlet focused on the court's institutional independence, while the left and right outlets emphasized her ideological identity, leaving the viewer to weigh whether her remarks are a neutral defense of the court or a partisan signal. Federal judges ruled to allow a Tennessee congressional map that divides a majority black district in Memphis. MSNBC framed the ruling as a systemic failure, arguing the Supreme Court precedents help dilute black votes. The Hill reported the straightforward judicial outcome, noting federal judges allow the map dividing the district. Without a distinct right outlet provided, the contrast remains between systemic critique and procedural reporting. The neutral read is that MSNBC connected the ruling to broader voting rights erosion, while The Hill presented the judicial decision in isolation, leaving the viewer to determine the historical weight of the boundary changes. The House of Representatives voted to approve a war powers resolution, directing the president to end the military conflict in Iran. The Guardian framed it as a direct order, noting the resolution directs Trump to end the conflict. Axios framed it as a political maneuver, calling it a rebuke of Trump's war. NBC News framed it as a stalled legislative effort, noting Senate Republicans voted to let Trump continue waging it. The neutral read is that The Guardian emphasized presidential authority, Axios highlighted political friction, and NBC News focused on the Senate roadblock, leaving the viewer to weigh executive power against legislative oversight. Across the spectrum, outlets consistently shape institutional events into narratives of either systemic failure, partisan rebellion, or routine procedure, dictating how the public understands power. Subscribe for the Framing Gap